It was a normal day in Canada. Orion was sitting at the restaurant by himself, reading a newspaper. He was reading more about the preparations for the upcoming Grand Gala. Some of his upper-class noble friends had asked him if he was going to go there with some other mayor for a date, but this time he had told them that he decided to go just by himself. He did actually had asked some other mayors with the noble society if they wanted to go with him, but most of them had said that they wouldn't go because they were either busy or had other plans to do. And some other of a few mayors that he did actually had asked, they all said that they had already been asked some other another stallion. So with that question though, so he decided to go just by himself. So during the rest of the day, he decided to go to a local fashion show to get some new suit for the gala. When he was there, he did notice that Celestia and Luna was walking by outside with a few guards. And for the past 2 years, Orion had been feeling some feelings towards Celestia, but he knew that he probably would not have any chance to be with her, since he is a noble pony, but she is royalty. Even though that he heard about Cadence was a royalty, was marrying the former captain of the Royal Guard shining armor. But though that even he was a captain of the Royal Guard, but he wasn't noble or any in the other class. But he still married into the royal family. Even he did have some feelings towards Celestia, but he didn't want to be any burden for her or any others. Because even though that he had feelings toward her, but he didn't want to make her feeling embarrassed to be married with some lower class according to her, or according to some other nobles. Because it happened almost for a while back when he met some other nobles. Notice they talked more about how when after the wedding that Shining Armor met with Cadence. Some of them were a bit curious why suddenly she married another. They all talked about why suddenly that Shining Armor married with Cadence, who is a royalty, but he isn't, or at least a nobility. Many of the other nobility was very curious and really surprised about this. So Orion just brought that particular something up. What if another nobility would marry Celestia? How would they all react if a noble stallion with a noble society would marry her? Would they have the same reaction? But they all said no, since he is part of a noble family, since a nobility and almost like to be royal, and that were not considered to be any wrong with, because they had heard some other stories about other kingdoms, like Griffithstone, Yakistan, which they often had some that particular in some of weddings. And that made him a little bit worried about if he would be respected by the other nobility in the society. And from that, he decided not to do anything to tell Celestia about his feelings towards her or reveal this to the others in the society. But after this, he actually had found his suit and went home, and 2 days later, the gala was there. He went to the gala, and even there he mostly talked with some other nobilities, and even though there were a few others ponies that wasn't nobility. That was actually Twilight Sparkles and her friends. But since Twilight became a royalty, she and her friends were accepted, even though that most of her friends were considered is not as important. But to Ryan's eyes, they are important because they are the local heroes that have saved Equestria a number of times. So to him, they are important part as a noble society. But during that particular evening, Orion saw Celestia talking with Twilight and Luna in her white dress, and it made him feelings towards her even stronger. He wanted just to go up to her and start talking to her, but he felt nervous even to do so. So he decided to avoid to see or at least to talk to her. So he decided just to talk to some of his friends or other guests. But the rest of the night though, something did happen. When he just went out on the balcony to just get some fresh air, and then he looked up the sky, saw it was a beautiful night, but then he heard a voice behind him. And the voice said, "It's a beautiful night, is it?" "Yes, it is." But then he turned around and saw, in fact, it was Celestia. "Your Highness." Apparently, Celestia also needed some fresh air. So, but first, he was quiet. He tried to step on the side so that he would not stand much closer to her. And suddenly, she brought the silent with asking him how he enjoys the if he enjoys the gala or and sort of things. And he explained that he actually had a good time at the gala, in that among his friends and other novelty, they just have a good time. And then she asked him if where his date were, but he said that he didn't have any date with them, at least this time. He explained why he didn't have a date, and she just smiled and said, "That happens." "Yeah," he said. "At least I have a good time here at the gala. A lot of food to talk with to talk to some guests, and just having a good time. It is what I would ask for. It wouldn't have to be any big party. Just have some good time, relax, you know, spend time with your friends, have a good snacks, and just dance or at least have a good time with anybody." Hearing those words, Celestia just smiled and said that she understood exactly. When she even told him when she was younger, when those early years when she became the princess of the kingdom, she enjoyed the same thing as well. She often travels around in the kingdom just to observe how the ponies are enjoying their lives, even to get to know the ponies even better, to let them know that she is always will be there for any point, any point of if there any disaster or anything. That made him realize how good-hearted she really is. But then he then brought up a question: when she was became a princess, if she had any stallion in her life at that point. But Celestia said no, she didn't have any stallion in her life. In fact, she had never had any special song pony in her life, not at any point. That actually did surprise him, and he asked why suddenly. She just told him that she had never been focused in romance at any point, because after the kingdom was just founded by the founders, and that she was elected to be the princess to rule the kingdom with along her sister. She in the first during the first few years was being focused to maintain the peace and balance in the kingdom, make sure that anything would be perfect, make sure that all the cities around the community, all small towns were built up, and that even the law and order was maintained. And but after that, all have been around for about 200 years. Even then, she thought maybe she wanted to be with somebody. But during being a princess with having diplomatic missions to other kingdoms or receive other diplomats, and having to do all her royal duties would take a lot of time. So even if she did have a boyfriend, or at least a mare or stallion to be with, she thought maybe that wouldn't work because her constant work with the royal duties. Maybe they wouldn't get much time for it with her special son pony. Maybe that he wouldn't couldn't stand that she preferred being doing a lot more work rather than do any particular spend time with him. So that was the reason why she hasn't been any dating on her role. But lately though, she had been thinking maybe she should spend some time with Stallion to at least be more reluctantly to be have more peace. Maybe he has a little more spare time. But when he said that she is the princess, she could just really take a spare time at any point when she want to. Normally that she could, but when there are going to be any big diplomatic missions or any diplomats going to receive visit to Canterlot, then she couldn't just say, "No, I can't. I'm going to have spare time to be with my boyfriend or fiance," which would later state. And he also stated to her that even that she might probably wouldn't think that she would never find a stallion, he just said, "If I was right here, I would have asked you out on a date right away, and no matter what, even if I was a nobility or a world class pony, I would always have been with there, and I would have perfectly understood all your royal duties, and even considered if we would have just a little spare time, even if it were only for a few minutes to a day or a few hours. I was always would be there, no matter what." Hearing that made her realize something, that this was something that she had never seen in a stallion in a quite so long time. But then, oh, by a big surprise, "Are you asking me out on a date, Orion?" She smiled. That surprised him very much. With a red face and I, uh, no, Your Highness, I'm just explaining that I would, but I know that you're a busy ruler, and I have my work, so I barely have any spare time myself." He smiled, chuckled a little bit, and then he said that he had to go back and to see him on his friends. He nervously left the balcony without saying another word. It was so close that he admitted his true feelings towards Celestia, but he decided not to do it. But that would be something that he would regret it really much. Because only a few days later, he had heard from one of his friends that Celestia had been decided maybe to find a stallion to be with. And that really surprised him. He thought that she only maybe this as a more as a big thought. But apparently Celestia had decided to may find a stallion to be with. But he tried to focus mostly on his work and didn't pay much attention. But only about a day later, Celestia announced she had been found that she had found a stallion to may perhaps be with. And that broke his heart. He realized he had missed his opportunity to tell Celestia how he feels towards her. But now he lost his chance. So with the next few days, when he was just in town, he could see Celestia walking around with a stallion. And apparently this stallion was from Maid Haddon, and that he wasn't even nobility, but he was a big banker. And seeing how happy you were with him, and that was making him really, really heartbroken even more. But every time they saw each other, he smiled and just nodded and said goodbye and hi to her. But something did happen in his heart though. He felt even more heartbroken because almost every night he was crying in his bed saying, how could she do this? I know that she loves him, but how can she love someone that she hasn't even talked to before? She doesn't really know him. But if she's happy, I'm happy for her. But something did happen though. Because about a week later, when Orion was out in town at this local restaurant nearby his home, he heard this stallion talking to another mare. Apparently, it was Celestia's new boyfriend, and that this boyfriend of hers was talking to this mare, which he believed was used to be a friend of his. But it turns out this stallion was a cheater. He had been seeing another mare behind Celestia's back, and that this mare had been his girlfriend for the past 2 years, and they were even engaged. That he had even told her that he would try to ask Celestia for marriage with him soon, and after that, he would probably inherit some of her massive fortune. And after that, he would divorce her, and that would give him half of the rights of the fortune, so they could live together happily with the money they had. Hearing that was something Orion would not tolerate. He thought that maybe he could walk up to him and telling him. If he do that, he would tell Celestia all about it. But he realized if he did, this boyfriend of Celestia maybe just what will tell Celestia and that Orion just imagine or is lies due towards her. So he decided not to do it. He pretended that he didn't hear anything. He even stayed there after even both the mayor and the boyfriend had left. And he went straight to the castle, but he was stopped immediately by the royal guards. He explained that he needed to see Celestia. It was an important message. The guards then looked at him, and they both recognized it was Orion. He's often at the castle, so they let him in. Celestia was found in the library, so he talked to her first. After hearing all about this, she thought maybe there must be a mistake. But after seeing how serious Orion were, and even hearing his tone when he said, I'm serious, Celestia. I heard everything was right. He has been engaged with this mare for 2 years, and he has been seeing this mare behind. He's planning to propose to you, and they will gain half of your fortune, and they later will get married and live on their fortune that he did get from you. Trust me, I would never have gone to this and making up a life for this. You know me. You have known me for the past few years since I moved here. And Celestia did know, because Orion had never lied to her or his friends as long that they had known him. So, when this boyfriend of Celestia came to the castle for a visit, Orion was standing behind the throne in hidden. And Celestia, she acted happy to see him, but then all that changed quickly. She told him that then when he asked that maybe that they should get married soon. But Celestia said she wasn't ready for marriage. Not yet. At least not with a cheater like him. That he was going to use her for her own fortune. And she told him that she found it out. And he said, that must be something mistake. That's a lie. I would never do that. I love you, Celestia. But then Orion stepped out, behind the throne. I was there when I heard you talk to this particular mare. And at the same time, two guards walked in with the mare behind her. And she even confirmed they had been engaged for the past 2 years. And what about the plan? Now knowing that his plan has been foiled, and that he tried to convince Celestia all once again that this was a lie, that Orion was conspiring with the mayor against him, so they're believing that there was all lie together. They both lied, both of them had lied so that he would be as betrayed as the liar. But Celestia said, I have known Orion long enough. I have known him for several years, and I only been knowing you for about less than past few days. And now you explaining this to me and hoping I would trust you rather than someone I have known for quite some time? You may be mistaken from that. You see, Ryan has lived here in Canada for the past few years, and I have known him since then, and he has never lied to me or his friends. He is a very trustworthy pony, and I trust his word against yours. So my advice to you, though, is that you and your so-called fiancé is to leave Canterlot and never return. If you do, you will be stripped of your rights as per nobility and will never be allowed in the city ever again. This is a fair warning to you, both of you. You two can go get married and live somewhere else, but never do this again. You never want supposed to be lying to any pony, especially some pony that is royalty, without taking any consequences. Do you think you would have come along, get away from this, but by lying to me? What if you had lied to my sister? She would have taken it much seriously. She'd have probably put you and your fiancé in the Tartarus for life about this. And hearing those words made him realize that Luna would have done that. So I'm giving you this warning. Leave town and go somewhere else to be married with. Make a better life than just lie to some pony. And that was the last time they saw him, because after this meeting, both of them took the train far away from from Canterlot to some place only they would know. And Luna, when she was told about this from one of the royal guards, she was surprised. But Luna was happy that Orion had told about her sister's event situation. But even Celestia, she was just happy that he was there to be helping her, protecting her. And then he took the chance to tell her about his true feelings, which she took immediately as a good example. She even told him that she had a feeling that he had a lot of good feelings for her. And only sometimes after this, though, both of them started being dating, and the public was just open. And after this, since the public had known what had happened previously about Celestia's boyfriend, but they didn't tell exactly all of things. They all just admit that they only told by one story, that Celestia and her boyfriend didn't work out, so they decided to break up. And that he moved away somewhere else to perhaps find some new love, and that Orion at some point had revealed his feelings towards her, and that she had accepted that, and they decided to try to be dating, which they since that even the public was aware of this, and they accepted it. But there were only a few ponies that was aware of the true story. That was Twilight and her friends, and Shining Armor and Cadence. They were the only few that knew the true story. But exactly what happened to Celestia and Orion after all this? Orion, he has continued to love Celestia even after this. His love for her was just was beyond anything. They often went to movies together or having a great dinner at a castle which they both enjoyed. But it did happen that Celestia and Orion left the castle to go to a lake nearby just to having a relaxing day, which they both enjoyed. Even Celestia had thought, what if Orion was meant to be with her in all along? Even Orion had thought himself, what if I was supposed to be with Celestia? And if I didn't had asked her or told her about my feelings or even warned her about her ex-boyfriend, I would never have been forgiven myself if I didn't, he said to himself. But he had even told Celestia the same thing, and she just smiled and said she feels proud that he did warn her about her ex-boyfriend. But one day though, during the winter, Orion he didn't see Celestia because suddenly during the winter he got sick by the flu and it was getting worse all the time. His fever was getting higher and higher, and Celestia she was getting worried about to be losing him, so she had ordered by the royal doctor to look after him. And with some care from him, from the doctor, and of course from Celestia's visit, it always made him happy, and soon he was back to health. And it was the right time when Hearts and Hoops, Hearts Warming Eve was appeared. Both of them had this amazing time. But even though on the New Year's Eve he had a special plan for her, he even asked Celestia to marry him, which she said yes immediately. And right about around the summer and the year after, they got married. Orion had asked Spike to be his best man, since apparently Spike and Orion were good friends. And that Luna had asked to be Celestia's bridesmaid, and that Cadence to be performing the ceremony. And the later even went to Crystal Empire for about a week, which they both had this amazing time. But even though they often just spent time together with at the on their honeymoon, they was curious. How would their life be now since they are married? Would things would be back to normal, or would things be more differently? But nevertheless, what will happen? They will embrace the future together. After they had been married for about 4 years, both of them had decided maybe it was time to start a family. And within a few months, Celestia had a big news for Ryan, and that he was going to be a father, and especially to a son that he was beyond happy. And then, a few months later, they had their son. And they named their son Crescent Star. As he was growing up, as a colt, he was already interested in astronomy, and he often had astronomy classes by his father or by the godmother Twilight. Twilight was helping her, their son, to be teaching more about stars and everything. But already as a colt, he had been interested in reading and writing. And when he was in school, he joined the school newspaper, and that made his passion for to be a journalist stronger. When he was about 18 to 19, he applied for a work in a local journalist or a newspaper, but unfortunately, he was getting a work there. He did actually thought maybe he was not going to get work, but after consideration, he was allowed to stay there. But after about almost about 2 to 3 years, he decided to be transferred to be made had. And there he made his career even better with as a journalist. And there he even fell in love with a musician, a female musician from Trondheim. And after being dating her for about 4 years, they actually got married. And they later have two sons, twins, and 4 years later they had two daughters, also twins. And that's how Orion and Celestia found their true love, got as a family. The end.